This is Jinju at kimchimarie.com, and if you are watching this video either right before New Year's or on New Year's Day, Happy New Year. I'm recording this a couple weeks before. So today I want to show you how to make Tteokguk, Korean rice cake soup. We also call it New Year's Korean soup. So it is a must for Koreans because Koreans, the tradition is we have to have Tteokguk, the rice cake soup, on New Year's Day in order to age 1 year. So, you know, the New Year's Day, the usual greeting is, have you had your Tteokguk yet? So sometimes we would end up visiting relatives and you end up eating 5 bowls of Tteokguk a day because everybody wants to feed you. And we used to joke, wait, does that mean I aged 5 years today? So anyway, so it's a must, and we of course have it throughout the year, but for New Year's Day and also for Lunar New Year, which is actually the New Year's Day for Koreans in the past. And recent, you know, last maybe 50 years or so, we celebrate both New Year, but in the old times, that was the Lunar New Year, or also called Chinese New Year, you know, but we, you know, the Koreans considered that the New Year day. So we're going to, I'm going to share 2 different recipes today, one with anchovies stock. So here is a what we use for the stock. It's anchovies, and I'll discuss more about that. Okay, so let's talk about tteok first, rice cake. So this is called, this is karetteok, and it's actually even longer. It comes out in Korea on New Year's Day. You can, or around New Year's, you can buy the whole rice cake tube that comes from a fresh tteok bakery, tteokjip. Or then what happens is it comes out fresh, it's soft, you let it dry for a couple of days, and then you cut that. This is how you cut it. This is pretty dry. So you cut it at a diagonal, and so at home in the old days, everybody would cut it at home like that. It would, you know, we would spend hours cutting it, and so you can cut it and get this one's the color is a little different, but anyway, this is what you can buy from the store. It comes pre-cut like that, and that's Tteokguk tteok. So it's tteok that's specifically made for Tteokguk. So my favorite brand, one of my favorite brand is one by Ihwa. It's called Pear Garden. And this one I just found recently. It's actually organic rice, yugino, organic rice ovalettes, or Tteokguk tteok. So if you can get that, that would be, you know, if you want that, that would be great. And it actually comes in 2 packages like that, so you can, you know, use it based on how much you want. And the nice thing is, so you can keep these refrigerated for a few days, but if you want to keep it longer term, you should freeze it. So if you freeze it, then the rice cake will become looking like this. This is actually a fresh stuff that I bought from the store, so it will be all frozen like that. And so the best way to use frozen tteok, if you're starting with that, is, and honestly, recently I kind of struggle with giving you the exact directions about this because it seems it's different based on the state of the frozen tteok. You know, the first time, if you freeze the fresh tteok and you use it later, you can use it whatever way, but sometimes, depending on the makeup of the tteok, it's better to soak it in water first for a few minutes and then cook. Sometimes, if it was defrosted and refrozen a few times, if you soak it in water and cook it, it actually may become mush. So you kind of have to test out the state of duck that you get from your store and try different ways. Usually frozen duck does better if you soak it in water, cold water, for just a couple minutes and then cook it. Otherwise, sometimes they will just stay hard the whole, like even if you cook it for quite some time, it may stay hard. So, but these unfrozen ones, you can just put directly into your soup or rinse it once, because it does have some, you know, remnant, little particles of the duck, which may make the soup more cloudy. So you may just want to rinse that. But yeah, that's my favorite brand. Otherwise, also, you know, you can buy others. Just note that just because it says rice cake, it's not 100% rice. Some of it are, some of are not. And even though a lot of Korean packages are a little confusing, it may say 100% rice. It just doesn't mean that the whole duck is 100%. It may actually include wheat flour or sometimes even cornstarch. So it depends. You gotta look at the ingredient list if you want gluten-free, to make sure buy 100% rice cake. So this is for making anchovy stock. So Koreans love using anchovies to make stock with. We also make, you know, the 멸치 볶음 반찬 with. And anchovies come in all different sizes in Korea. I actually have a ingredient page about that, where I tell you all the different sizes and how they're used for. So for making stock, you want to get the bigger ones. So I bought two packages here just to show you the different ones and how to find. So this is one kind. It's quite big, right? It's like as long as bigger than my longest finger, and this is probably the biggest you'll get, and that will work well for stock. You can also use a bit smaller ones. Gosh, I'll open that. So here's a smaller one from a different company. And one also tip I wanted to share: when buying dried anchovies, you want to buy the ones that are more fresh and hasn't been, you know, in the bag or in the store too long. And one way to make sure of that is if they're totally dry, rock hard, that means they're old. Also, the colors, they should be more silverish, like this one. This one, you can see bits of brown coloring that's happening. That tells you it's getting a little, it's still usable, but it's just not that fresh. So yeah, you can tell the difference of colors here. And so yeah, try to look at that and just kind of feel how, you know, soft or hard it is. So again, many recipes will tell you need to, you know, gut the big anchovies. You know, gutting them means you want to take out the innards. Yeah, and I'm sure that will make probably a teeny bit of difference. What I found in my years of cooking, these big ones, I think it is better to remove the innards, but it doesn't make a huge difference. Whereas these ones, they're much smaller, and these ones actually don't really, any 멸치 that's about this size or smaller, I don't remove the innards, and the broth comes out totally fine. So, you know, I'm always for, yes, do the step if it affects the taste and if it's necessary. Otherwise, I am always looking for ways to cut corners, and that's one of the things that I found. I don't know, for whatever reason, to me, it tastes fine. It doesn't taste that bitter. These big ones, I think you do want to gut them, but so what I actually do is a lot of times I don't use this. I use the smaller, either this size or smaller ones you can even get that are maybe about that size too. That will make perfectly good anchovy stock. So you can soak the dried anchovies in cold water overnight in the fridge, and you'll get a wonderful stock that way. And so my tip is to actually, if you cook and use a lot of anchovy broth, you can always kind of have a jar of anchovies soaking in water. And then you do want to take them out after about a day, and then that anchovy stock will keep in the fridge for a few days. If you actually cook it and boil, simmer it, it will keep even longer. The other way, the faster way, is we want to put this in a pot. Here I used a cup to show you, but so in a pot you'll put water. So for this recipe, about 4 cups of water and a handful of anchovies, and we'll bring to just below boil, and we want to simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes until you get a wonderful sort of yellowish colored broth, and that will be the base for the tteokguk using anchovies. These are the ingredients that we will need to finish up the tteokguk rice cake soup using the anchovy broth. So we will use some ground beef here and season them with some soy sauce, sugar, garlic, mirin, and sesame oil and black pepper here. That's my favorite little bowl. And then I will use some soup soy sauce, 국간장, salt, and some of the garlic here to season the soup. And then we want to cut up some onions. This is about 1/4 of an onion. Probably half. This is a smaller cucumber, not cucumber, carrot. Why do I keep saying cucumber? So carrot, we want to cut up some carrot, julienne them, and then some green onions to finish the soup. Oh, and I almost forgot, this egg is for making jidan, so I will make a garnish 계란 지단 for the topping. You can also just swirl it in if you don't want to go through the trouble, but try it at least once. It does make a difference in how the soup all comes together. Okay, to about 1/4 pound of ground beef here. You can also chop up some beef stew meat, whatever beef you have, but ground beef works best. And then to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of sugar, about 1/2 tablespoon of rice wine, and about 1/2 tablespoon of sesame oil, and some black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon, and we'll use about 1/2 tablespoon of minced garlic. And then we can mix it all up. You can also just start sauteing the ground beef first in a pan, and all these add these seasonings afterwards. But I think it makes it simpler when you mix it all beforehand. It's marinated a little bit. Also, you don't have to deal with adding seasoning to a hot pan, and you don't have to worry about burning, not adding the seasoning in time. So yeah, there we go. So this is all ready. All we need to do is just cook them, and then we'll just use them as topping. I'm going to cook the ground beef topping. So let's turn the heat on to medium-high. And that's the ground beef that we just seasoned a few minutes ago, and we're just going to dump that into the frying pan. So we're going to just cook it, saute it, and just try to break it up once it's cooking. Okay, so there we go. Just continue to cook and until the beef is all fully cooked. And this is a great topping. So the seasoning is basically kind of bulgogi-like topping, seasoning. So if you have bulgogi already made and you don't feel like doing the ground beef, you can even just cook the bulgogi and kind of chop it up and use it as a topping. There are some Korean flavors that are sort of very interchangeable. So it's the sweetness and the saltiness of the soy sauce and the garlicky flavor. That's kind of what we're looking for here. Okay, so it's almost there. As you can see. And yeah, we will continue to cook. And if you want, you can finish it off with a little bit of open all the way. Oh, okay. A little bit of sesame seeds. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And then we're going to add this as a garnish to the anchovy stock tteokguk with the egg and the ground beef topping and some fresh green onions, and it'll be wonderful. Okay, and we'll try not to get all the fat from there, but just remove most of the beef. So we'll transfer that to a dish. So you can do egg two ways usually for tteokguk. You can just both of them you need to whip, but you will for this recipe you'll use one egg and add a bit of salt, and then I'm gonna whip it. So you can swirl the egg in, and that's probably how you have had in a lot of tteokguk. So for that you don't have to whip it too much, just enough to break it, and then I'll show you how to just swirl it in. The other way is I'm going to make chidan, and I will show you how to do that. And for that you need to whip it more to make sure they're all evenly mixed, and then we will cook it in the frying pan and slice it up. Okay, so we'll just pour the egg all together, and because it's one egg, it's not going to fill up the whole pan, I think, here. So we may end up with a little bit of a crooked pancake, but that's okay. So just swirl it around a little bit, just so it's evenly distributed throughout. Okay, and I'm going to just patch it up a little over there. Okay, so lower the heat so that it cooks, but you don't want it to burn. So, and then as soon as most of the egg is cooked, then we want to turn it over. Okay, so there we go. We'll turn it over. It has a little hole in the middle, but that's okay. Okay, so that's how you can make the chidan. And we just want to cook it on low heat until everything's cooked. And you can see that I should have whipped it even further if you want complete, if you want the color to be more even. But because I was talking and I was on video, I didn't whip it long enough. But okay, so now we can turn it off. And then we'll move that to a cutting board. You see that's all nicely done. We'll move that to a cutting board, and then we will slice it for garnish. Okay, so you saw me just make this chidan in the frying pan. And the way to cut these is you want to roll them up like a kind of like a, you know, fruit roll up. You don't have to do it tightly, you can do it loosely, and then you want to just cut it, slice it really thin. You can go really thin to look really delicate and elegant like that, or you know, you can go thicker if you want more egg and you don't really care how it looks. But yeah, trust me, the fried egg topping this way adds a whole different sort of texture and flavor than just swirling it in. Swirling it in is also good too. But yeah, so ever since I made this for my husband and my daughter, even though, you know, I kind of say, oh, this is all extra work, you know, I don't want to make the chidan all the time like that. They kind of ask for it because this version just, they just love the taste of. So for New Year's, why not? You know, spend some extra time, make some fancy egg chidan. Sometimes in some recipes, they will also actually cut this into like a diamond shape, and that works too, but that's even more work. So yeah, so we have that ready, and then let's go and make the soup, and then we'll just top it off and enjoy. Oh, one more thing. I forgot. So I forgot to introduce this ingredient in the beginning. This is kim. And you can use sushi kim. This is actually the Korean joseon kim used for the toasted, roasted seaweed that you can get now even at Costco. But this is a great topping to use on the tteokguk later on. We can just rip it up, or you can use scissors to cut it into thin strips. Okay, so you can julienne these, or you can, this would be a little too big, so actually what I like to do is I'll just cut them in half, and then you can slice them at a diagonal and add to the soup. I like adding carrots, not just because of color, but it adds a great bit of a sweetness to the soup, so we can do that. Onions into thin, you don't have to do it too thin, but you know, about that thickness, a little less than about a third of an inch. And then we'll cut up some green onions to add as a topping. Diagonal, I like to do that, but you can cut it however you want. You can cut it finer if you want. Okay, so those are the green onions. Okay. So I've been simmering the anchovy stock, and an easy way, I know I just dumped it in the water before, but easy way is to use these bags and keep the anchovies in there. That way you can just take out the bag all at once. And oops, by me trying to show, it's opening itself. But anyway, this is, you can see the stock is getting a bit cloudy. It's yellow in color, and it's going to be wonderful as a stock for the tteokguk. Okay, so now let's finish the soup. So we have the anchovy stock. I'm going to bring it to boil. My gas stove sometimes doesn't want to work unless I hit it. Okay, so there's the anchovy stock we made before. So again, as I said, you can refrigerate it and then use it later on for a lot of other recipes. So we're going to bring this to a boil, and while we're waiting for that to boil, I'll show you. So we have these ready: carrots, onions, and green onions to add to the soup. We also have some soup soy sauce, garlic, and salt. to season the soup with. And we have the duck that I just rinsed and ready to go. Okay, so while we're waiting it to boil, we can actually add the soup soy sauce. Okay, we have the salt. This is just fine sea salt. It got wet and got stuck to the little bowl. And then we will mix a little bit so that it's seasoned. Always taste. It tastes good, so you can always adjust. Okay, so the stock is boiling, and to that we're going to add some carrots, some onions, just to give it some extra yummy vegetable flavor to it. The onions will make the soup a little sweet, so no need to add any sugar or anything like that. And then we will bring that to a boil, and to that we will add the duck, just like that. And then we'll wait for a few minutes for the duck to become soft and cooked. So there we go, we're almost there. The vegetables are getting cooked. It's a little soft now. Yeah, it's duck is pretty much done. So the funny thing with tteokguk is everybody has a different preference. I do not like tteokguk that's like pasty, where the duck has been cooking a lot or has been sitting in the soup a lot. I like the broth to be as clear as possible. Whereas my sister, she loves it when it's actually like a, you know, almost like a pasty soup, like a soup. So it's up to you. If you don't like it thick and kind of a pasty slurry soup, then you can stop. You can cook it less. And okay, so let's add some green onions to that. And some garlic to finish it off. Great, and then we'll taste again. So yeah, the basic soup is nice and just enough of saltiness and a lot of umami from the anchovies. And then we'll finish it off with the garnish. So this soup is not complete without the ground beef topping. If you're going to skip that, you will need to season this a little more because by itself it's good, but it's not the totally delicious bowl of tteokguk that you will end up at the end. Okay, so let's stop boiling that, and we'll just for some extra flavor, I'd like to add some fresh cracked black pepper at the end. Okay. Okay, so now we're ready to put the tteokguk together. So here's a wonderful tteokguk that I just finished, anchovy stock based tteokguk. So I said 4 servings, maybe because I'm hungry. It looks like right now it's more like 2. But anyway, so there's that wonderful soup. And so we want to add some of the ground beef topping. Trying to do left-handed, it's so hard. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna put some of that there, and then we want to add some of the egg kiranjidan, egg finish, and then top it with some kim. And there we go. You can see, I hope you can, I just wish one of these days you can smell the wonderful broth. Oh, it's so clearing. It's so nice. And yeah, if you're going to mix it and eat it, enjoy it with some kimchi. And I'm so hungry, I'm going to get a bite to eat. Okay. The rice cake is perfectly chewy, just like how I like it. See how clear the soup is? So if you, yeah, I recommend don't cook it, and cook it when everybody's ready to eat. This is not a soup that can sit for long in the pot. It will just, the rice cake will just get even more and more soft and mushy, and the overall soup will get pretty thick. So yeah, be sure to serve it right away. And then yeah, I hope everyone will have a great new year with this wonderful soup.